My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel run by professional fighters and MMA insiders dedicated to UFC fight picks, MMA fight picks, and UFC DraftKings lineups. We are joined every single week by Nick Newell from Bellator, from UFC, and from Tommy Hilfiger. And also Dan Kramer, Bellator fighter, UFC fighter, and Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. If you want fight picks and you want inside information from people in the sport, around the sport, this is the channel for you. I've been managing fighters for 15 years. We have contacts all over the world, and this is how we get our information to decide who's going to win, who we're putting in our lineups, and who we're going to bet our money on. So let's do a small pivot here, and instead of talking about UFC fight picks and DraftKings, we're going to talk about bare knuckle boxing fight picks. The Friday before the Super Bowl or the night before the Overeem fight night, we have Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, KnuckleMania. That's actually an awesome name. The headliner is Paige Van Zand. Everybody knows that. She literally signed a $1 million contract, monster contract for this. These fights are very entertaining, a ton of fun. If you haven't seen them before, essentially it is bare knuckle boxing. There are hand wraps that protect your wrists so that when you throw a punch, your wrist doesn't bend and break. So there's hand wraps holding that wrist nice and solid, but your knuckles are bare, and they're brutal fights. They're a ton of fun to watch, but they're violent and they're brutal, and so there is damage done. What is interesting, and that's why these fight picks will be interesting, what is interesting is we have seen some high-level strikers not do as well as you would have imagined in the bare knuckle world. Two examples come to mind. One is we saw Thiago Alves come from UFC, high-level, fought George St. Pierre for the title, very high-level striker, and he won his bare knuckle fight, but it was a split decision, and it was a lot tighter than we imagined it would be. And then we saw Paulie Malignaggi, who is an actual world champion boxer, lose to Artem Lobov, who it just likes to fight.
The goat.
No
respect on his name.
Discernible, I'm not trying to go that far with it, but we've seen some crazy stuff in this. So that's why these fight picks will be interesting. They're always a ton of fun, and your actual boxing credentials or MMA striking credentials don't play as much of a role in this as you would think. So let me start off with Jacob. Jacob, I know you're a big time bare knuckle boxing fan. What are your thoughts on this? Who do you think wins the Chris Leben Quentin Henry fight?
Yeah, so to me, looking at the tape on both these guys, this seems like the kind of typical brawler versus boxer per se. From my experience watching bare knuckle fights, and when I watched the Paulie and Artem fight, and it was more of like a boxing match. They were kind of pointing each other. There wasn't a lot going on. I can tell you on this card, these are going to be brawls. These are going to be absolute brawls, and Leben is going to control this fight as a brawl. With that being said, Henry, if you watch his last fight, he looked a little soft. I want everyone right now to go look up the promotional video that Henry posted like 2 or 3 months ago. I think it's called like the Rebirth or something. He is absolutely jacked now, absolutely jacked. And in an MMA fight, that would concern me. You put all that muscle on, but in something like this, man, I think he's got an unbelievable jab. He stays on the outside. I think if he can stay on the outside with Leben, he's got the great advantage. Leben kind of, when he gets hit, he kind of starts reaching. There's not a lot of technique. He just kind of runs at you. So I think if Henry can stay on the outside, hit him with the jab. I think his last fight he won with just a straight right, just right across the chin that just absolutely terrorized the other guy. So I definitely have Henry in this. I think he can stay a little bit on the outside and turn it more into a boxing match rather than a brawl. But Leben he's going to bring the heat, and this fight's going to be fireworks. It's not going to last long.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing to note, you mentioned that Quentin's jacked now. He's also a heavyweight. So he's a big dude. He's an actual true heavyweight. He could fight at light heavy if he cuts some weight. Chris Leben's a middleweight. So there's a big size difference here in real life.
What weight is this fight at? Light heavy?
I'm not 100% positive what the weight classes are for bare knuckle, but I think the equivalent to MMA would be heavyweight.
And I do have to say, Leben, for as much as he kind of just marches forward and he'll start reaching if he's getting hit, he's still going to come forward. And from what I saw, his chin is unreal. He'll take shots to give shots and has no problem doing that.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Leben's a legend. He's been here. He was on The Ultimate Fighter season 1, most notably for pissing on a bunk bed. But he has the chin and the striking to back up what was a pretty decent career for a while there. Nick, your thoughts on the Leben Henry fight and how you think that'll go, and if technical skills plays any role in this at all?
Well, here's the thing about bare knuckle fighting is that the rules aren't exactly the same as boxing. So you can clinch, you can back fist, you can do all these things you can't do in boxing, and you can make the fight dirtier. So it's really not the same. And I think that to win this fight, Leben has to make it ugly. I think that Henry is maybe the more technical striker, but Leben somehow gets it done. I saw him throw an uppercut that he started throwing and ran across the whole cage and knocked out Alessio Sakara, who's like an actual really good boxer. And this was like, I think it was so slow and the haymaker had so much hay on it that it actually threw off his timing and he knocked out Sakara with it. So Leben is a dog in any fight. So he can get inside and make it dirty and make it ugly and win the fight because he's got that good chin. And he also hits like he's got bricks in his hand that can put you out at any moment. But the only thing is he's a little bit older. He's slowed down a little bit, and Henry has the size advantage here. So I think that it's going to be a good fight. I think Leben will have his moments, but I think when it comes down to it, I'm going to go with Henry on this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. First of all, solid across the board there because you're right. It does need to be dirtier. And that's where just technical boxing, and that's where the Paulie Malignaggi fight didn't go as most expected because it's not a technical boxing match. I think, as we all know, as fighters age, their chin goes, then their speed goes, but their power stays for a while. So Chris Leben will have that power. His speed is going to be gone. He wasn't the fastest, most athletic fighter to begin with. So that's gone. He's 40. But he's still going to have a ton of power, and he always had a granite chin. So hopefully some of that sticks around. I just think Quentin Henry is too big, too athletic, too young. He's only 31. I just think it's just set up for Quentin to win. And I think he'll take it. I'm hoping it's an exciting fight. I like Chris Leben. I know he's had some bumps in the road in his life and in his career. And, hopefully bare knuckle, the way they're throwing money at people and they're doing some pretty big pay-per-view numbers. I'm hoping Chris can find a little bit of a resurgence. Dan, anything we missed? You agree? You disagree? Are you gonna shore this up for Quentin Henry across the board?
I'm gonna preface this with, I have no idea who's gonna win this fight. But what I will say, and I know you guys all touched on a little bit, is bare knuckle boxing is very different than regular boxing, technical striking, and MMA. It's almost better to be a brawler in this than try to be a technical point fighter. You had mentioned before Paulie Malignaggi, like that style wins when you have gloves on, you can stick and move. But to be honest, it's almost like you need a technical version of a brawler to be good at this sport. And I think both of these guys have that style. Chris Leben fought the best of the best in the UFC as a brawler. So I think his style of fighting blends really well for bare knuckle fighting. Quentin Henry, I saw a little bit of tape on him. He looks like he's a brawler as well. So I think this is a coin flip and they're going to throw bombs at each other and somebody's going to drop. It's 2-minute rounds. So you would hope that cardio is not too much of a factor. But you know what? I'm going to go against the odds here. Very low confidence pick, but I'm pulling for Leben. He's 40 years old, so that could be a factor. The other guy's 31, but I'm pulling for Leben. I think he's, like you said, last thing to go is the power, and he's got some heavy hands. So I'm pulling for Leben in this one.
Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. It'll definitely be interesting.
I don't know what the odds are, by the way. When they announce the odds, I'll take a look at some video and see if there's a bet to make. I put some money on my boy Thiago Alves last time and made a little bit of money. So I'm 1-0 in my bets in bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah, they tend to wait to the last minute to release these odds for some reason. So we'll update you guys if anything's crazy or goes against our picks. The fans here are definitely think Chris Leben's going to win the fight. I can't imagine any world where Chris Leben wins this fight. He lost to Dakota Cochran, who's a wrestler, not even a striker. So we'll see what happens there. The second fight, the co-main event, is Johnny Bedford versus Dat Nugent. This one to me is another interesting fight, and it's another stylistic conundrum here. Johnny Bedford is a true vet across the board. He's fought in every major promotion as an MMA fighter in the world. He's been in the UFC. He's been in all the regional promotions. He's been around. He's been fighting forever. Where Dat is an actual boxer. He's only boxed. He hasn't fought MMA. They're the same age, so this isn't youth versus, experience. It's a very interesting matchup. I just think, Dat being an actual boxer, not being an MMA fighter who's transitioned, and he's had several bare knuckle fights. I just think he's going to make it happen. But what I will say is Johnny Bedford is on a 5-fight win streak with 2 knockouts. That is the longest win streak in his entire career, MMA included. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Nick, I'll let you jump in on this one. What do you think? You think Johnny Bedford's MMA experience will reign supreme against an actual boxer and Dat?
So I'm going with Nugent on this one. He's a more technical boxer. Bare knuckle fighting is made for people like Johnny Bedford, though, because he is he's as much of a dog as they come. He's just like an old boy, like down to scrap, down to fight. Probably got into a lot of street fights as a kid. Will grab the back of your head, punch you, make it dirty, make it ugly. But I've seen Nguyen strike before, and I think that his precision is just better, and he's got that dog in him too. So he's my pick.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So you're sticking with that. Bare knuckle boxing isn't boxing, but in this case, we both think that the technical boxer will make it happen. Jacob, what's your take on this fight? What direction are you going?
Yeah, so my favorite line that I've heard so far was from Dan when he said, I believe it was a technical brawler is what he was looking for in bare knuckle fighting. When I look at Johnny Bedford, that's exactly what I see as a technical brawler. He was the first person I started watching in this matchup for film. And that guy stands in the middle, points at the middle, and says, meet me here. I want to brawl. The thing that was a concern for me when I'm watching him is he's got right hand high, but left hand low. And when he's coming in, he's ducking his head in. So I wanted to watch Dat to see if he throws uppercuts, because Bedford a few times in his fights is ducking heads and catching uppercuts. He eats them, but he is eating uppercuts. So I watched that, and that guy's throwing hook, 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 hook. I saw no uppercuts. So I have no issues with Bedford here, turning this into a brawl. You guys said Dat is a boxer. He definitely is a talented boxer. He didn't seem as fast to me as Bedford. And I think that, like everyone's been saying, this is different than boxing. I think if they start dirty boxing, which unfortunately Dat is also game to brawl, I think that's going to be a disadvantage for him in this. He's game to brawl. He just kind of bites it, he bites his mouthpiece and starts throwing hooks. And I think doesn't have the power to match Bedford. And if this turns into a dirty boxing match, which I think Bedford can lure him into pointing and saying, come here, and they start throwing, Bedford's got more power. He seemed faster to me. And I think he takes this pretty easily to me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't want to sleep on Dat's nickname, Dat be Dat. So he's.
I might have to look in just for that nickname alone.
Yeah. Dan, are you sticking with? We're split for the most part here. What are you gonna do? You're gonna tie this up, or are you gonna lean this?
Dan.
Again, I'm actually changing my mind on my pick as I'm watching video on my iPad over here.
Dan, come on, Dan.
So I was going into this going with Bedford. Just he's got a lot of fights. He's a brawler. I think this bare knuckle type format works well for him. And when I heard that Dat is a true boxer, I was like, oh, definitely taking Bedford. But man, I'm watching dat be dat right now. He not only can he pure box, but he'll sit in the pocket and bang too. And I think if he can do that as well as what I'm seeing here, the edge will be he's going to have the crisper punches that boxers have. One thing that professional boxers have is they throw punches the right way almost all the time. So when they land, it hurts more. So I think if he can fight a technical brawl, let's say it's 50-50 on the clinch exchanges, all that chaos, right? Because Bedford's really good there. But when they break away, that's Bedford. I mean, that's Dat's world. So I think he's got a slight edge from the outside, and I think it's about 50-50 in the middle, the way I'm watching this. So I'm going to give the slight edge to Dat be Dat, and the nickname helps too.
And I don't know if
Sorry,
you guys
Jake.
I don't know if you guys noticed too. We were talking about the size difference last fight. Look at the size difference of these guys. We have 5'10" versus 5'6". Dat is a small dude. He's a small dude.
I do agree with you, Jake. If he threw some uppercuts, he would be that would help him a lot, especially if Bedford makes this
the uppercuts probably can't even reach him at this point.
Jacob, you're 5'6", and every time I say that you're short, you defend it like 5'6" is average height.
I'm taller than everyone on this card.
He's 5'10" on his license, Angelo. Give him a break.
So let's go to the main event. So obviously this is the hero card here. Paige Van Zand, I mentioned earlier, signed a literal $1 million contract. That's more money than the UFC was ever going to give her to move over into bare knuckle boxing. She is more than just a fighter. I mean, she's legit famous at this point. She won the cooking show. She was a finalist in Dancing with the Stars. So she's been around the entertainment world for a while. So it will be interesting to see if Paige, who traditionally is very tough, when she first started in the UFC, her skills didn't necessarily match her toughness. She was unbelievably gritty, just willing to die out there, and would never quit in any position. And most of her early wins were just wild scraps where she was in terrible position and would work her way out and just scratch and claw and made it work for her. So what will be interesting is if this sort of newish found fame and this giant contract sort of take away from that grit, because at the end of the day, this is bare knuckle boxing. I mean, you're going to get ripped up, your face is going to get banged up. And not that she's ever had a problem with that before, but it'll be interesting to see what happens here. With that being said, I don't think Hart really has a chance to win this fight. I mean, she's out there, she's fighting, and good for her. And she's really trying to make it work, but she's had several losses in bare knuckle world. Beck Rollins beat her up pretty good, and MMA math never works, but Paige stopped Beck, just stopped her. That's when Paige came, I think it was her first fight after Dancing with the Stars, and knocked her out with a head kick. So I just don't see Hart winning this fight. I think it was designed that way, obviously, but I think Paige has I don't think it's as straightforward for her as we would imagine, because I think once you get hit with some bare knuckle punches, it wakes you up a bit and it catches you off guard. But I just think she pulls it off. Jacob, you going with the darling of the card, or are you going to go underdog here?
Yeah, so I loved what you said kind of off the cuff there, as far as it was kind of designed that way, because I think the bare knuckle people knew what they were doing with this fight. They knew Paige was coming in this kind of fresh, didn't want to get overwhelmed, her first fight. And Hart, as tough as she is, she's an outside fighter. She's not going to run across the cage or the circle or whatever they're calling their bare knuckle platform there. Paige is going to have a chance to kind of settle in, and she can be the aggressor if she wants to be. And I think that's where Paige is going to excel in this fight. So like you said, Hart has kind of struggled in boxing and also in bare knuckle boxing. So I think Paige just comes in, settles down. She takes that first hit with the bare knuckles. Like you said, there's no one that's ever going to doubt Paige's toughness. She's as tough as they come. So if she does get hit, that's the only thing that I would worry about for someone coming over to bare knuckles for the first time is, sometimes you kind of saw that with the Paulie Artem fight. You saw Paulie kind of in and out. I know that's the boxer style, but I think when you take off the gloves, sometimes you are scared to get hit. You don't know what that really truly feels like sometimes. So I'm not gonna doubt Paige's toughness on this. I think this fight was definitely picked for her. That Hart girl is patient, and she will counter and unload with a 2 or 3 punch combo. But Paige, I just think this matchup is great for her. She can be aggressive when she wants to, and I think she'll probably just overwhelm Brittany. I don't see a big knockout or anything coming. It might go the distance, but I definitely see Paige winning this fight.
Cool. Nick, you sticking with the Paige Van Zant theme here? You going underdog?
I'm on the Van Zant train for this one. I know she knocked out Beck Rawlings. It was with a head kick, which is a move you can't really use in bare knuckle fighting. It's only punches, but I mean, she's the money, she's the draw. They want her to win. They set it up this way. They think, oh, everyone talks about how she looks and what's going to happen when she gets her face all cut up. But she's had her face cut up before in UFC, and she's been beat up, and she's shown that she's tough. She might even be more tougher than talented, despite everything else. And she does have a lot of grit, and she's good at making it ugly and winning fights and getting in those brawls. So I'm picking her. They set it up this way. They want her to win. They want to keep her winning, and it's going to make them a lot of money and bring them a lot of eyes. So I think they know their investment, and I don't think this fight's close enough skill-wise to make a difference, but anything can happen.
Yep. Dan, anything else? I mean, we're all pretty much on the same page here.
Yeah, I agree with all you. I think, like you said, Angelo, they spent $1 million to get her in there. It's a new sport for her. They're not going to set her up with a killer her first fight. I do think it'll probably be a little bit tougher than everybody thinks, but I think she's so much further advanced, probably everywhere, than her opponent. So I think she wins this fight. I think there's probably going to be some good exchanges. She's going to be learning a little bit while she's taking this first bare knuckle fighting opportunity, but I think that's the way it should be, honestly. You're doing a new sport for the first time. Fight a tough opponent, but I think this is to your point, Nick, this is a build-up fight for her. They want eyes on it. They want her to do well. She's going to bring in a lot of fans. So I think this is a clear win for her, and she'll probably learn a lot in her first fight and be that much better for the next one.
Yeah. So we're all on the same page there. So it'll be interesting to see how this card plays out. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comment down below. We respond to everything. And like and subscribe, and we will see you soon for our UFC Overeem Fight Night picks, as well as our DraftKings lineups. And we'll see you then.